Thank you everyone for joining this session on neighborhood hubs. Thank you. Good to see you too, Addie, and everyone else who has done the little transition into the panel room. So it's the first time that we've moved into this room. So a little bit of an experiment, but it seems like people are coming over, which is great. And I'm really excited for this panel. It's really something that's quite close to a lot of what I'm doing personally, working on personally, what I have been doing in the last few years. But this panel is not about me. I'm just going to be one of the moderators. And this panel is going to be all about co-living spaces having the potential to be neighborhood hubs and places that really exchange, deliver, and contribute to a multitude of different community capitals, we can call them, such as economic, social, cultural, human, and natural capital to their local stakeholders. So this impact of co-living spaces can really go beyond the walls of co-living and spread through to local neighborhoods and eventually have an impact on wider housing policies at the city, the regional, and even national level. And we're seeing it all around the world. And this panel is going to bring in co-living operators, large and small, new and old, let's say, from the city to the countryside, to explore how they're integrating into their surroundings through impact-driven engagement approaches. And you may have heard this buzzword of the 15-minute city popping around, even the 1-minute city. Some people are aiming for, and really creating spaces and neighborhoods where you have all this rich capital and all these places to exchange all in one place or all within a 15-minute radius. So co-living spaces can really act as these hubs. And this buzzword was already coming up before the pandemic, and it's gotten even stronger post or during pandemic. And it's really hyper relevant these days. And these are the people and organizations making sure that local stakeholders are really embedded throughout the whole co-living journey. So I'm going to introduce them now, and I also have a co-moderator helping me out. So if you're able to pin them as well while I introduce them. So we have Lianne Pollak, who is the VP of Strategy and Business Development at Venn. We have James Penfold, who is the Corporate Affairs Director at The Collective. We have Murray Clark, who is the CEO of Neighborgood, Sergey Dolgov of Melnica Space, and Julianne Becker of Coconut. So yes, we can also, I'm gonna unmute you all as well. Just 1 second. Yep, hi Julianne, hi Murray. I am just trying to find you guys as well with the help of my co-live friends here. And Julianne, would you like to start to introduce yourself real quick and then just talk about the vision of Coconut and how you're embedding impact and sustainability into your space?
Okay, I will try to keep it short.
Thank you.
So I'm Julianne Becker. I'm one of the co-founders of Coconut, which is a co-living, workation, co-working space in the countryside just outside of Berlin. We've been open for 4 years as of today. Actually, today is our 4-year anniversary. We've been able to host over 10,000 people here.
Congrats.
Since we opened. We work directly with our neighbors and our region and have been able to directly and indirectly raise over 8 million euros in funding for development in our region. So we are working on digital development programs, rural development projects and ideas, as well as direct interactions with our neighbors who live in the village where we are located. And of course, trying to incorporate our guests into the whole thing. Yeah. So that's us in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you, Julianne. I have been to Coconut a few times. I really love it there. And yeah, thank you for joining us on the panel as well.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah. So to jump over all the way to South Africa, I'm going to let Murray Clark introduce himself, please.
Thanks, Matt. I'm Murray Clark. I'm the CEO and founder of Neighbourgood. Neighbourgood as a company is a co-living and working company that's focused on repurposing hotels, guest houses, and offices across the city of Cape Town. We're connecting the dots as we go. We are a hybrid short and long-term offering everything from 1 week up to a year. We integrate workspace with it. We integrate value, experience, and everything in between. So we're really excited to be here and to be part of this.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Murray. And Lianne from Venn, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Lianne Pollak-David. I'm Venn's VP Strategy and Business Development. The company, which is based out of Tel Aviv, has been founded in 2017. Basically, what we do is we call ourselves the neighborhood company. And our goal, our mission is to increase the sense of belonging for people in their homes and neighborhoods. From the very beginning, we worked on a neighborhood model. So we never operate in a single building. We always provide a neighborhood experience. We do this in various ways that I will discuss, I guess, later on. But also leveraging a lot on technology. We have a very strong tech product embedded into the residential experience. We have raised $40 million out of VC money and are active a lot in the US in a few cities, Kansas City, New York, and going to be launching in 3 other cities in the next few months, as well as in Tel Aviv and in Berlin. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. Impact is very much in the core of everything that we do. Matt and our friends in Co-Liv have joined forces in our thinking about that. So I'm very keen to share our experiences and also to learn more from colleagues here. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Lianne. And thank you to the Venn team as well for being such an inspiration and all the open source reports you do as well. It's really, really valuable for the sector. So I'm going to ask now James Penfold from the Collective to join us, please.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name's James. I'm Corporate Affairs Director at the Collective. So my role encompasses securing planning consents for our developments, working with local communities and planning authorities to come up with projects that are kind of mutually beneficial. I also oversee communications for the Collective, social responsibility, and I help to manage our foundation. The Collective is a vertically integrated co-living developer operator. So we do everything from acquiring land through to designing, developing, and operating our buildings. We've been around for about 10 years now. We started very humble beginnings, just renting out house shares in London, and just saw such a huge demand for like a good quality, affordable product for our generation that it was just a no-brainer to kind of scale from there, and very quickly grown over the last 10 years. We delivered our first kind of institutional scale building in London, the Collective Old Oak, in 2016, which has been proof of concept in London for how the co-living model should work, and, you know, some positives, some negatives, and things that could always be improved. We delivered our second institutional scale building a couple of years back, Collective Canary Wharf, 700 rooms, over 20 stories, really exciting evolution of our product. And we have a number of new developments going into construction in London, the US, and in Germany this year. We have 2 new buildings opening soon. So end of this year, the Collective Harrow opens in London, which we're really excited about. It's like the next step on for us in terms of the product evolution and the quality. And then we have the Collective Williamsburg opening in New York City in Q2 next year. So lots happening, and really excited to be here with you all and to connect with fellow co-living professionals.
Awesome, James. Yeah, it's awesome to follow the evolution of the Collective as well. Since I've been working with you a few years ago, so congrats on all those highlights. And I look forward to diving in a little bit more on some of the initiatives we started working on together a few years ago, and you guys have just catapulted since. So yeah,
good to reconnect.
Yes, thanks, James. And last but not least, I'm gonna ask Sergey from Melnica Space to join us.
Yeah, hello guys. My name is Sergey. I'm founder of Melitsa Space. It's the first Russian rural co-living and maybe one of the most famous Russian co-livings. We are also Russian ambassadors of co-liv, and our idea is that the co-living is a center of development of territories, and we work with the government and business developers who are wanting to make living the point of changes, and we help them to grow communities outside the box. And I hope I will have 2 or 3 minutes to discuss it during our today's talk.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergey. And Sergey and Melnica Space were also one of the Co-Living Award finalists for impact and sustainability. So congrats on that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna now sort of go into the different models. As you can see, there's a bit of a diversity of speakers here. Some are from urban co-living spaces, some are from rural co-living spaces. And I'm gonna start off with focusing on the urban co-living spaces. And I would just like to ask maybe Lianne, James and Murray. So what kind of approach do you have as like a co-living developer operator to engage with local stakeholders, and how are you really integrating into your surroundings? So maybe we can start with Lianne from Venn, please. Yes, and we will unmute you 1 second. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Great.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, so very quickly just about Venn. So our goal is to increase the sense of belonging of members in their homes and neighborhoods. And we do that in various ways. Basically 3 main features, I would say. We want to see them connecting with their neighbors. We want to see them shaping the neighborhood, so being active participants in their neighborhood environment. And we want to also impact the way that they're supporting the local economy. Those are our 3, I would say, social impact metrics, the things that we actually measure our goals. And I would say it's probably the opposite of social distancing, if you may. But the way that we do that is we have developed and invested millions of dollars into a state-of-the-art tech platform. This platform does not live on its own, but it does encompass all the opportunities for members to A, interact with each other, B, to book a space throughout the neighborhood. So those spaces can be anything from a co-working space to a music rehearsal room to a yoga studio, etc. They're able to book it. They're able to even open the door using a smart key, and they're able to see through the app what's happening in that space in every single point in time. The other feature that we have is the actual community managers. So these are actual people who are based in those shared spaces, and their goal is to individually know every single one of the neighbors and get them to interact and to participate. And finally, we also have a local marketplace. The marketplace, of course, with a strong emphasis on local independent business providers. And that, I think, is the biggest connection to the neighborhood environment. So we make a very strong point out of supporting the local economy. We strongly feel about the fact that the local independent stores and providers are what makes a neighborhood what it is. So not only do we directly consume from those local providers, even if it's not necessarily the cheapest way of running our business, we actually provide lots of different opportunities and prompt and incentivize members to consume locally. We do this in various ways, but from simple things like providing vouchers and benefits with local independent stores, to every kind of gesture or gift that we will give to the members will be locally sourced, and we will make a point out of the fact that it's a local business. We will market that business through the platform, etc. And also uploading these businesses to the tech platform so that actually members can consume from them directly. And of course, our social impact is focused, yes, on the members' well-being, but also very much focused on the neighborhood and what the neighborhood is gaining. And what I will say is, if we have to choose like one impact, that will be the one. supporting these local independent businesses and local providers. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I'd love to dive into so many of these things. I think one of the things that you make very clear in the reports that you have is that economic impact. And yeah, I think that's a really important part of sustainability and impact strategies for co-living operators, but also for all other types of brands. So yeah, we can dive into a few of the other kind of maybe benefits in a little bit, but I'm gonna now move on to Murray Clark. And yeah, Murray, you guys have a kind of new community in South Africa, but like you said, it's quite well integrated, and you guys are called Neighborhood. So that's part of the reason why we invited you here. So.
Oh my goodness, thank you. It's so cool to be here. I mean, I think Neighborhood is in a single word, what are we about? We're about the impact we make in neighborhoods. So when we invest in a space, how are we going to leave this world when we leave it one day? I'm hoping that we can leave it in a better place. We're about how we treat your neighbor. Obviously, that's also in the word. And I think just in the world that we live in, trying to encourage more sort of sustainable interaction that's very community centric, that's hyper local, that's sustainable. And then obviously a big word in our brand is that word good, and it's about bringing good to neighborhoods. And essentially we do that by making living and working spaces better. I think as a company, we're hyper focused on Cape Town as a lifestyle city. If you've ever been to Cape Town, it's probably one of the most incredible cities in the world. We're surrounded by beautiful beaches and mountains and incredible people and rich culture and all of those good things. And you know, if you compare it to some of the biggest cities in the world, we're also really cheap. So make sure you book your flights and get here. I know it's going to get cold in Europe soon. Cape Town, it's summer all the time. And so, yeah, I think we're really focused on brownfields repositioning and being sustainable there. I think that there's hotels that are under pressure at the moment, and we're in the process of converting our third short-term space. We were born in COVID 9 months ago, and we're 300 odd members strong. We're on our 4th location. We have self-funded everything. I think just, you know, from a funding perspective, I've just never wanted to take on funding unless we felt we were there. And so, yeah, it's been, as a startup goes, always a hustle. But yeah, I really have enjoyed it. I think our community is growing, and we're connected to local businesses. We are integrating experience, health and wellness, workspace, living space. And I think the experience has been incredible, really building a culture of breathing good into the life of our beautiful city, and taking buildings which are no longer efficient and making them efficient. So in a sort of single summary, that's where we are. And yeah, I'm excited to continue this journey together. It's such a collaborative industry, and I think that's what's so special about it, is that we can, you know, jump on conferences like this, and I can pick up the phone call, and there's organizations like Co-Liv that are doing all the incredible things that you're doing. So yeah, I think the bones are incredible and excited to be part of it.
Nice, thank you, Murray. And yeah, it's really cool to see you guys just spearheading this movement in South Africa and Cape Town. And I know you also have quite a lot of love for Cape Town, and really focusing on having impact there before expanding, which I think is great approach as well.
It's hard not to love.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, I guess maybe one of our summits can be there one year, you know. Yeah, cool. So I'll just move on to James now from the collective. And I know you guys have multiple new locations and doing a lot of community engagement during and after the launches of those communities. I think you guys have something called the Community Investment Program as well, which I'd love to hear about a little more. And yeah, take it away, James. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So I guess just to start, our purpose as a company is to enable people to lead more fulfilling lives together. So that applies to every single stakeholder we work with, you know, whether it's our staff, our investors, the local communities we work with. We want to have a positive impact and enable people towards growth and fulfillment. And that applies to every single thing we do as a business, every decision we make. And our approach to urban planning and development, you know, this is really ingrained in it. And I guess like just starting at the Collective Old Oak, which is really where it started. This was like really embryonic. There was no like, it was just like us doing what we thought was the right thing to do. And so Old Oak, when we were building the building out, we got to know the local community. We did days where we were painting the hoardings around the building site with the local community. We did days where we were clearing out local canals. Matt, you were probably involved with some of this stuff, right? And what was really amazing was the local community started speaking to us and saying, we need this and we need that. And if you were to include this in the development, then we'll come and use your space. And for us, that's like really a real benefit, right? Because co-living, cooperative housing, whatever you want to call it, ultimately, it needs to integrate the surrounding community into the building in order to be successful, and not to be a kind of gated style development of bringing kind of people in from out of nowhere and just dropping them onto a site. So started working hard with the local community. They asked for us to design a kind of cafe restaurant into Old Oak, which we did. We changed the design and incorporated that. And what that meant was that local community were coming in and using the ground floor space every single day. Also agreed with the local community that they could use spaces within the building a number of times a week for like yoga classes, local counsellors coming in to use the spaces, and it just activated the space. It integrated us into the neighbourhood, and it suddenly became a really exciting place that everyone in London was speaking about, because it was just so different to anything else out there. Like, we weren't looking to generate revenue out of every single square foot. It was more about, you know, how do we integrate the neighborhood into this and make this a successful and sustainable project? And then we started thinking, as we grew, like, how do we scale this? Because at Old Oak, you know, it was our CEO Reza, people like you, Matt, myself, we were doing this all ourselves, like just getting to know the neighbors. If there was ever a problem, the neighbors would ring us directly, and we've maintained that relationship to today. But when you have, you know, 20 buildings that you're building across 3 different countries, there's a different challenge, which is how do you scale your impact? So we started looking at like the planning process first as the opportunity to do that. And we, particularly in London, when we were speaking to local communities, we buy sites, and the first thing we do is go down and speak to the local community and say, look, we're going to be your neighbor. We're different to other developers. We're not just going to build a development and then disappear. We're going to build a development and we're going to be here for the next 20 years. So it's in all of our interests to work together to create something that's really inclusive and that you will benefit from. And we realized that there was a lot of trust lost between developers and local communities. A lot of developers have made lots of promises to communities over the years that have not been kept. And so there was this challenge. There was a project we were doing in Westbourne Park in London and Westminster, which is about to go into construction. And they'd had a big tower built on their doorstep, and they were like, look, why should we trust you? And so we started like coming up with ways to prove that we were going to honor our commitments. And that's where the community investment program was born. Because we said, look, why don't we come up with a legal document that documents everything we're going to do in terms of impact, that's then built into the planning permission that runs with the land. So even if we sell the development in 20 years' time, the new owner will be obliged to deliver all these commitments. So it's like ongoing impact in perpetuity. And so we came up with that idea, set up steering groups, the local community. They fed into the design of the development in a big way. We've got lots of kind of employment incubator space in the ground floor, artist space in the ground floor. We've got a performance rehearsal space for a local theatre group. There's loads of cool stuff that they came up with that's gone into that development, which is going to make it so unique and so cool and so different to anything else in London. So then we started seeing the benefits, right, also of working with the local community to come up with these really unique destinations that are grounded in the local area. So now we're looking to scale the community investment program model across our project. So every project we do globally will have a community investment program. We'll have a steering group with a local community. They'll feed into the design and activation of the ground floor spaces. And this will all be kind of documented and made legal, so it runs with the land. So it's our ongoing commitment. And then what we're doing at the moment is looking at our kind of social responsibility strategy as a company, and how that community investment program links up to the overall social responsibility strategy for the company. So it's going to be a core component. The 4 pillars are housing, community, health and well-being, and environment. Those are our 4 pillars of our strategy, which we're about to launch. And the community investment program is the kind of community pillar. And I think another point that we're realizing is that in order to create successful places and neighborhoods, you need more than just co-living rooms. Like, you need infrastructure, you need community space, you need places for people to work, to eat, to drink, to dance, whatever, right? To make it make it stickier, to make people want to stay, and to make it a cool place. So, you know, our developments are evolving now. They're not just co-living spaces. We have a second company called Makeshift, which develops and operates employment incubator space and community space in London. They delivered 3 projects to date: Pop Brixton, Peckham Levels, and Hackney Bridge over in the Olympic Park. It's a really cool impact-driven company. Their focus is all about local enterprise. And we're now looking to incorporate, you know, those kind of spaces into the ground floors of our developments as they're getting bigger. Because, you know, we're talking about the other day, we're kind of creating villages within towns, is the way we're thinking of it. And these villages need to be fully functional. They need to integrate and they need to benefit the neighborhood around, but they also need to have the infrastructure for the new residents who are moving in. So I think there's like I can see another part to the co-living journey about this kind of placemaking piece and how these developments become kind of villages and like neighborhoods that interlink with everything around them.
Nice. No, thank you so much, James. Yeah, and that's exactly what I sort of mean by when I say neighborhood hub, and really creating these like microcosms, these little kind of mixed use, resi, office, commercial villages, like you call them. And it's really great to hear that you guys are embedding all these into this new CSR program and strategy. And yeah, I mean, I remember the good old days as well in the Old Oak meeting rooms and co-working space, just doing some focus groups with local neighborhood groups, and it's quite cool to see how far it's come since. So thank you, James.
Thanks.
So we are now going to go into the countryside a little bit, and we are going to ask Sergey and Julianne to present a little bit about what we were just speaking about as well. So just a reminder, yeah, just like how you're integrating into your surroundings and what kind of approach you have as a co-living operator in a rural location, and something about rural remote innovation hubs or co-living, co-working hubs, which I find quite interesting, is that it's not only on the sort of neighborhood level, but it's also often on the city or village level and also the regional level. And I know you both have a lot of interesting things to share about that. So if you want to start, Julianne, and then we can go into we can move into Russia later on.
It's kind of the classic way. No, I'm just kidding. I guess I could start by saying that we're based in a village with about 50 people. So when you're comparing that to an urban landscape where a building hosts more than 50 people, it's a different game. And so when we're talking about our greater community, we're active with our 2 local townships. So in total, it's about 15,000 people in the region, and we're trying to work in different ways to activate all the different parties. So we created a project for people to escape the city as the initial idea, but myself and my co-founders were also coming from a sustainable tourism background, developing sustainable tourism projects for communities around national parks, where there is still a lot of, just a different game, but we kind of incorporated a lot of those things into what we were doing here, which means that we started with the community that was on site. So before we began any of our work, we invited 30 members of the local community to meet 30 members of the new community we would be bringing. So 30 people from here and 30 people from Berlin, to come together with a moderator, with a design thinking like workshop to see what are the visions of what could happen here. And for us, it was very important to make the ideas of the local community, especially this village where we're located, to happen. And it was really nice to hear what, sorry, I'm looking for names. James, what you were mentioning with the legal contracts. So we also have in our legal contract for the land that the fire department will always be able to use a certain house on the property. We listened to other needs, which was they wanted a place for their council meetings. So we host the council meetings. We host the village party every year, except for the last 2 years, of course. But That's very much just for the village and for whoever is at Coconut. We don't make it a bigger topic. So it was really about listening to what they wanted. And we're trying to continue to incorporate. We've had bigger visions of how can we have more interaction between our village neighbors and our visitors. What I'm really excited about now is that we have a book exchange, which was suggested by a neighbor, which is like super cool. So we've been really working on this relationship for a long time to activate. It's, you know, we are really different sort of culture and business that's ever come to this community before. Obviously, it's there's never been a co-working space in this village. So for them to finally like I can tell you, okay, I'll tell you what inspired them is we've got this crazy thing happening next week that we're bringing an S-Bahn car, like a train car from Berlin to our property as a co-working space for local people. This has done more than I could have thought. So one of our key things is to inspire, and it has inspired people to really come to us with their own crazy ideas or just their ideas, because they see now that we can do crazy things. And so they want a book exchange. Someone asked us to help plant some new trees in a public space in the village. It's really activated this sort of imagination of our local community, which was really amazing. Yeah, so that's like just a little teeny bit of what's going on here. But I would say from the very beginning, we considered our neighbors as a key part, a key component of being a successful project. And I think it's something that I always promote, especially, well, I think in every context. Of course, in the city, you might call it gentrification, but in the village, you might just call it, I don't know, exclusion. It happens a lot, and I would say in rural projects where the local community is not considered at all, and it's only considered, like, people are only thinking about their own vision and considering the rural landscape as this blank canvas for their dreams, and they're not actually considering how there's a whole community of people who are already there, and they have their own visions and their own dreams. So that was in our thoughts from the very beginning.
Awesome. Thank you, Julianne. And if you can, I want to give Sergey the mic, of course. But I know you guys are doing a lot of really cool stuff as well on the regional level and on working with some of the regional entities. Do you want to just share in a quick minute about that as well, if possible?
In a quick minute, well, I would say that the Coconut and Klein-Lean, where we are now, we see as a lighthouse project, so we're able to test and do things in a lot of different areas. And one thing that we've done here, which we would, if we do Coconut in another community, would do again, was to start a nonprofit together with the local communities. So we started a nonprofit called Smart Village together with the 2 local townships, as well as the Naturpark Fleming, which is our local nature park, and as well as other organizations. And the goal of that was to be an umbrella organization for all of the other regional development projects that were happening that take an innovative approach to rural development. Because of that, we attracted other projects to the region. We're now hosting about 15 organizations at Coconut as a headquarters for people who are looking at innovative rural development. And because of that, and all of these different people's heads in the game, that's where we were able to raise funding. So we raised the public funding. We just got a €8 million grant for the region, not us, not Coconut. We're just one of the partners on it. But the 8 million in investment, it was available to all cities in all cities in Germany. And we were able to get it in our community of 15,000 people, which is just a really big thing for this community. And that all happened because we were working together. We were networking with already existing organizations. We were able to attract new organizations. And because in general, we're very much talking to the people about what the needs are and the desires, which is actually why we were granted this grant. Because we didn't use what they called newspaper science. So we weren't just like looking at stories that you might read about how other cities are using new technologies to improve their community, but we were actually talking to the community about the needs and then looking at what technology is available and how those things could come together. And so, yeah, just this community engagement has so much more, you have so much more power with your projects when you actually are engaging with the people who will be the recipients of these projects.
Nice way to cap it off. Thank you, Julianne. So yeah, Sergey, on to you, please. Should be able to unmute. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I have my. So can I show a screen? Can you give me this ability?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I think you are co-host. No, are you?
Mostly, but not.
Yeah, he'd like to share screen, Sergey. Yeah. One moment, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So first of all, I want to tell that we are not a network. We are a local, rural co-living, but we have a goal to bring the culture of impact co-living and urban partnership to our country, whereas only few co-livings are living now. It's very young market for Russia. And we have such a model where we test some new approaches and bring them to other cities. If you want to be heard, we should work not only with our model, but with the digits, with some proofs. And that's why the last year we made, before the COVID, we made international research for Russian market, where we tried to count everything about co-living market, and we understood such digits and we shared it with our colleagues in Russia, and it was very useful. But interesting, not that, but that a year after, we continued counting, and we understood that from our database survived only half of co-livings. Most of them are closed or living in very tough times. But we saw that there was much more residents because in Russia, very many grassroots co-livings that are growing last months. But it's not the issue, but issue that survived those co-livings that were more than co-livings, and they were impact carriers. And our main idea is that we should think in out of the box mindset, because co-living is not only effective business or commune or a place for escaping for digital nomads, but it also I think it's a new accelerator for growing local communities and growing development of territories. I think that we should talk more about the role of co-living in a wider territory, as Julianne was said before. And I think maybe you know this model of chaos pilots that we renew with our approach, that everyone who interact with co-living have some kind of experience circle. It's begin from excitement that it gets from the website or from the first connecting when it arrived to co-living. But in this circles, very useful, very important part is the impact that this co-living brings to territory. And we believe that, not only believe, we proved in Russia that if developers, local communities, entrepreneurs, they see that co-living brings the impact, they want to partner more than if it is only a co-living as a business project. And in our case, there are 600 centers where we grow up for living, but also as accelerator, as co-working, and much more. But we see that our territory of our future impact is much more, and I think that Coliving should understand as a district change making point. So we developed some kind of senses as a urban partnership, and we trying to connect people who want to develop something on our in our space to bring it to other communities. And last year we started a big all Russia contest for searching such a points of like us. And I think that there is a praise words on the screen that modern co-living is more accelerator, and it's proof that co-living people are strong leaders and could be change makers and could unite people of this mindset. So this is my short presentation. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Sergey. And yeah, I mean, we're kind of noticing this is a bit more of like a festival set, let's call it, where it's a bit jam-packed, and we can obviously dive deeper and for quite some time. But so right now the panel is meant to end in 5 minutes and go into a networking session. But we also are leaving the option open for people to stay, and then maybe do a little bit of Q&A, or maybe just yeah, get the rest of the speakers back onto the spotlight. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can add them in there, and we can do a little Q&A. If not, I also have more questions. So yeah, essentially my team will send the link to the networking session, and if you'd like to stay, you can stay another 15 minutes or so, or you can go straight to the networking session in about 3 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna look real quick at the chat. I see that there were a few questions about starting a rural co-living space and financial models and things like that. But I am going to try and keep it to the topic of neighborhood hubs. And there are plenty other panels going on that will talk about financial models and also rural co-living. So maybe one of my kind of final questions, which we can do a bit of popcorn style, is yeah, like what are some of the benefits, the social, financial, maybe like branding as well, to embedding these kinds of approaches into your corporate strategies, into your brand strategies. So not just the benefits as a company, but also to your residents, to the local stakeholders. I'd love to hear like what is kind of the social, environmental, economic value that these strategies can bring. So yeah, I don't know if somebody wants to raise their hand, and we can, yeah, okay, Lianne, there we go.
Yeah, so first of all, I would really strongly encourage whoever is interested to go on our website and download or read our social impact reports. We make a very big deal out of the social impact side of things, both in terms of developing a rigorous model that is embedded into our product with very clear goals that are measurable. And I think that's, if I was to kind of give away something to the industry, I would say just that. I would really encourage whoever operator or developer is interested in achieving those social returns on their investment. I believe that having a very clear model with a strong methodology behind it is very crucial, because I think that in our space, there's so much that can be done. And some of these things are very intuitive, but I think that if you do this in a very systematic way, you have the ability to impact so much more. And that's exactly what we have found. So in terms of what we are trying to achieve, I would say that those are two elements. One is like an impact on the members themselves, mainly in the space of increasing their sense of belonging and reducing loneliness. So the way that we do it, for example, on the loneliness side, is we ask them when they enter a van-operated neighborhood, we ask them, we survey them, how lonely do you actually feel? They have to rate it, etc. And then we compare it to census data, which is available. We try to ask the question in the exact same way that it's being asked, so that we have a baseline for the entire population in the same area. And then we ask them again 6 months later, and then we ask them again 12 months later, and we see the result, and we continue to track that. What we're seeing has surprised us, is we're seeing a 50% reduction in loneliness after 6 months period. So that's exactly what we would like to achieve on a scalable level. And we embed this in every single neighborhood that we operate. That's, I think, is the biggest impact on the member side. And we want to see those, we believe that getting there means having participating neighbors and participating members. The more they will participate, the more they will initiate, the more they will create it themselves, shape their own experience rather than us telling them how they should live. The more they will consume locally and connect with the local businesses in the neighborhood, well beyond their building, the less lonely they will feel, the stronger their sense of belonging will be. That's kind of on the member level. The second, of course, impact is on the neighborhood's environment. And there, of course, the fact that we're having these very active residents of the neighborhood that are engaging at a neighborhood level with the various partners, NGOs, public authorities, with the local businesses, with volunteering activities is in itself an impact. But I would say, as we previously said, we want to see an actual effect on the economy. We want to see those local independent business providers flourishing by the fact that there's this active community. And the way that we do it is in 3 ways. One is basically we incentivize and provide opportunities to consume locally. Second is every single neighbor or member becomes a service provider themselves. They can upload their own service to the platform because, you know, you have your babysitter, you have your doggy walker, you have your yoga teacher, all in the same location. Why should they not consume from each other? And the third element of what we do is we get the power of the community to consume together. So that is something that has actually accelerated tremendously during the pandemic. There's absolutely, if everyone is buying vegetables, should they not be buying vegetables together every single Monday, having it sent to their doorstep with a discount from the best farmer, etc. The fact that we've developed this state-of-the-art tech platform allows us with these different opportunities. On both of these sides, both the impact on the members and the neighbors themselves, as well as on the neighborhood, we measure, and report. And if that's like kind of the strongest message that I want to share with my peers, you know, to really know whether you're impacting, you have to measure it. And I would really strongly advise you to do it. It's a huge effort to set it up. But with our friends from Co-Liv, I think if everyone will reach out to them, they can probably help you do that, especially Matt himself. And I would really encourage you to do that. It also draws potential financial investment that you would not be able to tap in another way. Some of our investors are social impact investors, and we are obliged to report on both of these, to the double bottom line, essentially. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite kind of slogans or mottos is measure what you treasure. So you guys are definitely embodying that, and yeah, it definitely adds a lot of value to the double bottom line, the triple bottom line, quadruple bottom line, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, thank you for sharing, Lianne. There was a question for you. I do also want to sort of listen to the audience a little bit. If you're able to respond to the question in about a minute, so we can get the other panelists to speak. It was about how you adapt as Ven to different cultures and cities. So I don't know if you have like a short bullet answer for that, but.
Oh, yeah. So I have a short version. The short version is we provide the platform, we provide the tools, and the members shape their own experience. So yes, we have the people who are hired by us. They're also local. But beyond that, they will be the ones starting the experience and initiating. But their goal, their KPIs, they are measured by how much of a participation we're seeing from the neighbors and the members themselves. So they will be shaped. We will not be telling people how they'll live. Every single location will look differently, smell differently, have different features, have different spaces, have different services. The neighbors, the members themselves will be the one deciding, and we're just providing them with the tools to do so.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Lianne. Do any of the other panelists want to sort of chime in about their thoughts here? Nope. James, I think you're all trying to speak, actually. Sorry. I saw James first.
No, I was going to say that it's about creating a positive legacy. Like, you know, balancing social, environmental, and economic impacts is the key to sustainability. We've all been through periods of time where cities have been planned in certain ways that exclude certain people, and, you know, maybe take care of, you know, benefit others at the expense of others. And so it's about coming up with a sustainable way of planning our cities and leaving a positive legacy. And, you know, a way of approaching that is to approach things from a transformational approach as opposed to a transactional approach, which a lot of traditional developers have done. It's been bottom line focused. They want to get planning permission, they want to build, they want to sell the building and move on to the next one. But as a co-living developer and operator, I think the opportunity we will have is to shape our cities in a much more positive, sustainable way. You know, we're long-term developers and operators. That means we should be making long-term decisions. It hopefully means we'll get to work with long-term capital partners who are also equally aligned in having a positive impact on our cities. And you know, we start to shape the way that cities are planned. I think that's the way that this is going. And there's lots of other sharing economy models out there which have the same opportunities. I think it's a really exciting time for co-living to kind of really lead the charge and set the bar.
Nice. Yeah, and I know you guys have actually done a lot of work with the GLA, the Greater London Authority, the Mayor of London, working on the specific policies for co-living, which is definitely a huge sort of political impact, I would say, and a policy level impact, which is really supporting not just London co-living spaces, but co-living spaces around the world to understand this age-old question of what is co-living, that we're all still trying to ask ourselves. So yeah, well done with that. How about Julianne, Marie, Sergey? Yeah, Julianne?
Yeah, I would say, well, I just would like, I would like to say that, like, there's a chance for all different size projects to make an impact. We're working in the rural space, so we're also aware of and networked with a lot of very small projects. And I think that if you're a project that's small, where your capacities of investment, money, people power are too low I find it difficult to measure our impact sometimes, like, because we're a very small team. And sometimes our project is it's so much work of operating. We're getting to the point now where we're not doing all of the operations ourselves as the founding team, but this is something that can be frustrating for a new project if you have, if impact is at your heart. But what I can say is that there are so many networks developing at the moment, especially in the rural context. If anyone's interested, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will connect you with all of the amazing rural projects that are happening, because they're together we can measure the impact of these projects together.
What do we need to do when we start going into the other one?
And to use these, sorry, to use the.
Sorry, Julianne, I'm sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
So, but I would say, like, to network with as many projects as you can, especially if you're a smaller project, because there is power in numbers. And so we've been very happy to connect with a lot of projects in Germany, and also to be a voice of innovation in this rural space here. But also we're connecting with many projects around the world. especially in Europe right now, but very happy to connect with more. So yeah, so even if you feel like you don't have so many resources, it doesn't mean that you can't start something. It doesn't mean that you can't make a difference in your community too. So I just wanted to throw that one out there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne. Yeah, and I really love what you're doing with like Diana from Pandora Hub and the rest of these rural shakers. This rural shaker initiative is really interesting. It's you can find some stuff online about it as well if you look up rural shakers initiative. But yeah, great to like what we're doing here at Co-Liv, just bringing together different minds and insights to really have an impact. So thank you. Sergey, should we continue with the rural, and then we'll go into Murray for some final thoughts?
Thank you. I like very much everything that colleague said, and Lianne said about the different levels of consuming to each other, consuming together, and I think that it's some kind of consuming and entrepreneurial culture. I think that we should grow, we should help to grow in residents of co-livings, and that's why it's very important to make a space for trying some initiatives, and that's why I'm talking about that co-living is a future accelerator where we can make some space for people who want to communicate with each other and make some new project, art project, business project, or commercial project. And maybe next years there will be more news where co-livings will be in media, not only as a place where owners earn some money or some 100 people's gained into co-living, but as that co-living residents made some change in a territory. They made some innovations maybe. I believe that during the next years we could grow communities of innovators in mind, I think, and in deals.
Nice, thank you, Sergey. I like this idea of like co-living spaces as accelerators for change, accelerators for ideas, exchanges, sometimes relationships, personal and professional, and I've seen that around the world. So I like this perspective you bring. Thank you. Let's maybe cap it off with Murray Clark, and then we're going to share a link to head back into the main room as well.
Thanks, Matt. I think the entire co-living industry is built on shared economy principles. And, I think in summary, the collective sort of culture that underpins that, drives why we exist in the first place. I think we're a sort of next generation of property people. And I think we're thinking about things differently. And I think it's in that energy that is fairly intangible that exists that I think is really going to drive sort of our industry forward. It really is not transactional, as James said so well. It really is transformational, and you can feel it when you walk into our spaces. It's not all about making as much money as you can and driving distribution and growth. And I think we're cut from a new cloth as an industry, and it's exciting. I don't think there's one silver bullet that we can look at and say, well, this is the answer and that's the answer. And I think it's the collective energy that, we're driving forward together, and in the spirit of good and neighborhoods, which is obviously why we're here in the first place. It's really that force that will make the sort of change that I think is necessary in a very traditional industry run by very traditional people. So I think it's up to us. It's our responsibility to try and make a difference in the world that we live in. And it's exciting because I think the built environment will be better off for it when we have got our hands dirty and we just, collectively pushing towards a much better and more sustainable future. So, that's my 2 cents before I ring off.
Nice, nice. 50 cents even. No, that's really great. I mean, I totally agree. Like, this is exactly what motivates me so much to be in the sector, is this hybrid of different sectors, of this synergy between community building, social innovation, impact, prop tech, and like the traditional real estate that you're talking about. So it's really inspiring to hear from all you guys. And yeah, I just really want to thank you, and feel free to connect to these panelists throughout the sessions, and in some DMs and Zoom and on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the other room.